All right, we're here for Close Out Part 2. We have Nicole Fontenay. I probably butchered that, but she's going to be with us today. We're going to discuss parenting and addiction, obstacles that we faced in recovery, rebuilding her relationship. She's going to tell her story some, and we'll just talk about parenting in general a little bit, and we'll share some of my experience if we have time. So, Nicole, I'll go ahead and let you start. Like I said, you can start with your story in general, and then we'll narrow down on parenting after.
Okay. Nicole, alcoholic. My sobriety date is March 17th of 2024. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, to a very large family of alcoholics and addicts. I don't remember much about my childhood. There was a lot of trauma. I know my mom divorced my dad when I was 3, and married 6 more times after that, to alcoholics. We moved around a lot. My mom was very much one of those always looking for a geographical cure. So we moved like maybe every year and a half to 2 years. Um, I can identify my alcoholism behaviors like as early as like 12. I was a cutter. I look at that as like the extreme behaviors to change the way I was feeling. I just wasn't comfortable in who I was. Um, I started smoking pot and drinking, running with a very much older crowd, running away from school, just anything to get away from my home and myself. That went off and on for a couple of years, until my mom married her last husband. And there was some sexual trauma in there. And it really like it damaged my relationship with my mom. As my mom was constantly working in school or out running the streets until she got married to this last man who was in the Navy. Um, and that's probably like the worst one that I remember. Um, Finally, when someone outside of the family found out what was going on, my mom was kind of forced to confront it. He went to prison. We had a huge fight. She blamed me for a lot of things. So I left. I moved in with my oldest sister who hadn't grown up with us. Um, I was there for a few months. I started partying real hard with her. I was 17. She gave me some pills one night, after I had been drinking, and assaulted me. Um, then I met my first daughter's father. Um, I moved in with him and his family. His mom was like, I guess, just really concerned about, like, I really bonded with her, like, over my trauma. And she kind of took me in. I was with him for a few years. He was actually really nice to me, but I think just because of everything I had been through, I had no idea how to react to that. So I pushed him away. I was very mean to him, continued all the reckless behavior, until I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. Um, he didn't want a kid, so we broke up. Um, Life was pretty normal for the next couple of years after I had her until she was about 4. Um, and it seemed like as much as I didn't like my mother, I continued all of the behavior patterns that she had with the drinking and the men. I had 4 more children. I had never dealt with all of the trauma that I'd had growing up. And so naturally, I ended up losing my children. My oldest went to live with her father, and my younger 4 went into foster care. They ended up terminating my rights for them. That's when I kind of like really spiraled out of control. I dove headfirst into heroin use with a needle. I would overdose. I overdosed more than 26 times. I'd say all but the first one was on purpose. Um, I was still continuing the extreme, like cutting. I had quite a few trips to the psychiatric ward. Um, I went to a place called the Rap House in Covington for a while, right before they terminated my rights. And that didn't help. I still had access to my oldest daughter at this time, but I was so devastated. I think all of the things that I had felt with my mother and my father had been non existent since him and my mom divorced. Um, I think kind of amplified and came out when I lost my kids. Like it just, like it doubled everything over.
For sure.
Um, and I couldn't even see Kaylee, my oldest. I thought she was safe with her family, her dad's family. They took really good care of her. I would go see her when they called, but that would only be for a few hours here and there. I would maybe spend a little bit of time with her on the holidays. Um, but it my using the heroin was the only thing that would numb the pain of losing the other kids. I had no contact with them. Um, Eventually, the addiction spiraled out of control. I started using meth, smoking crack. That spiraled all out of control until like I was homeless, jobless. I wouldn't look for work. People felt really sorry for me, so it was really easy to get the things that I wanted, and that worked for me for a really long time, um, until it didn't. Um, and then by this time, I was around 80 pounds. My face stayed swollen from my kidneys being so messed up. I was sleeping out on the streets. It got to where people didn't want me around. I would wash off in people's yards with on in their spigots and stuff. I was in and out of jail. They tried to send me to several rehabs, and I ran from the first two. The next two, I stayed long enough to understand, like, get an idea of what they were asking about the steps, the 12 steps. And then I was like, no, no way. And went back out. My addiction continued to get worse. Um, I had surpassed the incomprehensible demoralization. I started prostituting myself, and was so ashamed of what I was doing, that I had two uncles and a cousin that I was prostituting with because I felt like my secret was safe with them. They could never tell anybody. Um, I was, I hated myself. There were a few people here and there that maybe tried to reach out to me, but I was beyond all human aid. Um, and then my mother died. She hadn't spoken to me for like 13 years. They said that my sister told me that she had overdosed on pain pills and been dead on her floor for a couple of days before they found her. Um, and I don't know what happened. The day I found out she died, I stopped using heroin. I still continued to use a needle and meth I used the needle for about another year. And then the meth has been continuous unless I was locked up or in treatment, um, until about a year and a half ago. Um, I had not seen or heard from my other kids. I have no clue where they've been. And that ate me alive. I went to the healing place a couple of years ago and was doing okay for about 8 months. And I came home and I found out that my oldest son was looking for me, but that he had a lot of problems going on. So, not really having picked anything up in treatment, and not really worked the steps. I did what I always did, and I ran. Um, I went on another run for about 8 months. until uh, I just, something just broke in me. I couldn't imagine life with or without using anymore. Um, I started praying for something to happen, just kill me or help me.
Right.
Um, I had a lot of anger against God, and I didn't really know what I was praying to, or if it was going to work, but I got arrested. Um, and stayed in Campbell County Detention Center for a couple of months. I'd always been put in the SAP program cell because, like, my personality, I didn't do good in like population. Um, and I never would. I would just lay up in my bed and try to sleep my days away. It was quiet in there, you know. They were all doing their thing, and I could sleep, so that's what I did. And just something in me this time made me get up and start asking for help. Um, I think it had clicked at the last rehab, you know, like, if I want something different like this, I'm being given an opportunity to really do something different this time, but I have to put the work in. So that's what I started doing. I started opening up to the peer mentor in the jail. She allowed me to attend the classes. And I was there for a few months. They shipped me over to the work dorm, and then I was offered HIP, the home incarceration. I was offered either a halfway house or treatment. And I jumped on the chance to go to treatment. It's not something I ever thought I was ever going to do again. You know, just serve me out and let me go. But I think I'm very grateful that I had that gift of desperation to really want something different this time. They sent me to the Hope Center September 3rd of 2024 on an ankle monitor. And there was just something different about this place. It's a beautiful property. The staff and the peer mentors that I had the opportunity to be exposed to, and some of the older girls in the house were really welcoming. They didn't care that I was angry. They didn't care that I was, you know, I wanted to know, like, I'm not opening up to you. Like, I'll sit and look at you and I'll hear about your day. But they didn't care about that. And they took the time to really get me. They kind of forced me to see that, like, you know, there are people that really care. Um, so I started putting in the work on the contracts that I was given. I was exposed to AA meetings, told to get a sponsor, um, which I really struggled with in the beginning. I had a great sponsor that got me through the first couple of steps, but then life kind of started happening for her. And it was right when I hit my fourth step, and I really struggled with that a lot. And thankfully, one of the older girls in the house took me to a women's meeting and introduced me to the women there. And I had an amazing woman who has 15 years of sobriety set me down and, like, you know, this is what we're going to do. Like, you're on a life and death errand here. You know, you don't have time to waste. So she picked me up as her sponsee. She got me to open up. She really took time, you know, building that relationship, and showed me what the program could really be. She got me through the steps. Um, Now, my daughter, um, in the meantime, when I first got there, I had written her a letter because of course, you know, I'm sober. Let me show you what I'm doing, right? And the staff there and my sponsor suggested to no relationships for a year. I need to focus on myself. And that includes your kids. Like, you're not good for yourself right now, so you
Right.
can't be good for them. You need to just give it up. So that was like probably one of the hardest things I've had to do. But I worked my program. I took the suggestions, and then the day I petitioned, which I was letting them know like what my plan was and asking them, like, do you basically, can I graduate? Um, my daughter had, who has not spoken to me since, she's has two little boys, and when I was in my madness, the oldest is 5. When I was in my madness, she had called me, and we got to a huge fight because she was like, are you ever, she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, drinking and smoking, you know? And she was like, well, are you ever sober? And I'm like, no, you know? Um, and then she went into this whole big thing as she had every right to. And of course, it's all about me, selfish and self-centered.
Right.
And I told her, I said, this is why I don't call you, because you make me want to kill myself. And then I found out 2 weeks later on Facebook that she had just been trying to tell me she was pregnant with my
Oh,
first grandson. So because of that incident, she did not speak to me for the next 5 years until the day I petitioned. She ended up something, she said something, she just could not get me out of her mind that day. So she called up to the center and left a message for me. I called her back. Um, and that was like a whole spirit, like they talk about spiritual experiences and spiritual awakenings. And they just asked me about that petition, like, have you had your spiritual awakening? And I'm like, I think it's happening, but am I there yet? No, you know?
right.
And then, um, I feel like this was a whole spiritual experience to me. She said she had gotten the letter months ago, but that she'd ripped the envelope in half, and then she wasn't going to talk to me because she always ended up getting hurt. But something that day just refused to leave her until she reached out to me. Um, I've been able to, like, I was indigent the whole time I was there. The girls made sure I had money to call her every single day. I have slowly but surely built that relationship back up. It's really hard um, because she's 26, and like she's been the one, like, that was in and out. She's had to watch me through my addiction, you know. And I always was so angry with my parents for putting me through what they put me through. But it wasn't until I actually got to work the program and really take a look at myself that I realized, like, my parents did that to me one time. And then every time I would get back in her life and then mess up again, she was having to lose me and go through that trauma all over again, you know. Um, but I've been able to find my part, and understand where I was wrong, and really be able to start making amends with her. Um, my younger four, my oldest son, she told me that she reached out to him when she had the baby, the first baby. Um, and he is 21 this year. She found out through a social worker that he had been dropped off at a boys' home in Louisville when he was 16.
Oh,
He's got all kinds of emotional problems. He was just left. They don't know if something happened to him or if it's just all of the trauma of being, like, going through what they went through with me. Um, when he's emotionally uncomfortable, he touches himself. Doesn't matter where he's at, what's going on, who's around him. That's his safety.
right.
He's got the emotional stability of, like, he's got the mentality of like a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
He stabbed somebody, got locked up for a while, and was released back out onto the streets. My daughter tried to take him in and help him, but he didn't want any part of it. And when I first started talking to her, she can't find him anymore. Like, he's not on Facebook, he's not on jail, they don't know where he's at. And I've had to really pray about that because, like, learning that whole I'm powerless thing has been like one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn. Like, I'm powerless over him. I'm powerless over what's happened. But I can't fix it. I'm still learning to fix myself. And I've really, like, they've questioned me, like, well, have you thought about looking for him? And with everything that I know he's got going on, I've really learned that, like, whole, I have to put my recovery first. And also, I don't know that I'm ready yet. My daughter's been put on the back burner for so long, you know, and I don't want to introduce that and then end up everything coming down on me because I'm just not ready yet. So, um, I peer mentor now. I graduated the Hope Center. I'm a peer mentor now. I get to go in every day, and work with the girls that come in. and share my story. It's been a really amazing journey. Um, I still work a program. I still meet with my sponsor every week. I go to my home group. I sponsor when they're wanting to be sponsored, you know. But it definitely adds a special element to my recovery.
Absolutely.
So, and that's where I'm at.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And that was, I love when people like your story. I told my story for the first time out loud in a long time the other day, and I cried and I was so emotional. And I said stuff that, like, people are going to judge me for, and I don't care. And I'm so glad that you did the same. That's really what I want here. Like, that's really what I'm going for, is to just own our messiness. Like, we did what we did, and nobody that's watching this is in any place to ever judge anybody. So I think that's whole part of my thing, is that I don't want any judgment, but I want us to also not care if people do. And so I really appreciate you sharing, and so openly and honestly. Some just things that stood out to me as you were talking. First of all, is that you said that, like, talk about like finding your son and putting your recovery first. And I want you to know that I think that is the most responsible, mature thing you could do. Some people are going to be haters. People are going to say that you're selfish or you're being a coward, and people are going to say that, and I'm fuck them. Okay. Like, you need to do what you are so vulnerable right now, man. And for anybody that doesn't understand that, it's because they don't understand. Anybody that's not ever went through it does not understand how, you could, there's always later for you to connect with him, but your sobriety, your recovery is right now, and it's a brand new infant, and you have to take care of it. So
Yeah.
I really, I want you to know that I support you in that 100%, and don't let anybody tell you any differently, because that is what you need to do. I want to also touch on the fact that how you said in recovery, they said no relationships in the first year, and that does also include our family members. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, like, don't realize that, like, when we're recovery, it's the first thing that we want to do is we want to say sorry to everybody. We want everybody to forgive us.
Yeah.
And us as addicts, instant gratification, I know everybody should forgive me, and the ones that don't, I get so upset. I'm like, but I'm clean, and they're like, well, I don't care, how many times have you been clean? And so we have to understand that, yeah, no relationships means no relationships. Like, we're not supposed to try to repair the relationship with our kids or our parents or partners. We're really supposed to really focus on ourselves, and that's really important. And I think a lot of people don't take that advice as severely as you have, and I think that that's really good on you.
Yeah.
Your
Like I said,
youngest, go ahead.
go ahead.
Your youngest three kids, do you have any idea where they are at all? Has there been any?
No,
No.
no.
Um, and and as much as things like that hurt, sometimes we just have to accept, and if it's ever meant to be, maybe there'll be a way, and maybe not. Maybe that's just, so, maybe they went to a great family that couldn't have, there's always reasons, and we're not supposed to understand them ever, usually in the moment, and sometimes we do later, sometimes we don't. But I hate that for you. I mean, I can't imagine. But if we had,
It's hard. It's really hard, and it's really hard with my son. But I really work so hard on focusing on my daughter, and the two babies that she has. For the longest time, like, she would let me talk to them on FaceTime and stuff. But they knew me as her mommy, and it was just a few weeks ago, like, for the first time, like, she told them, like, that's your grandma. Um, and that in and of itself is a huge blessing, because I never thought I'd have that. I thought she hated me, and she had every right to. Like, the more sober I got, it's like, well, I wouldn't want to talk to me. Um, and it's been really hard, but that's also where I've learned to, like, keep my hands out of it, do what's in front of me. And when it gets too bad, I pray and I just try to help other people.
yeah, and I encourage you to watch some other episodes of, I'm sorry. Right, I'm sorry, buddy. Because one of the things that we've talked about is that, I grew up, like I said, in a house with parents that were both addicts, and as much as the stuff that they put me through, baby. Okay, hold on. And, all I ever wanted was for them to try and to be there and to show up. And so, just keep trying. And, all we want as kids, and I know because your parents, all we want is our parents. Like, that's all we want. If once that your daughter sees that, just like what's our, and the more that she's seeing that you're staying sober and you're really putting in the work, the more that the more she's gonna come around and let you in your grandkids' life. And you have to take time. I'm sorry, but
You're fine.
like she really will come around. Like, my dad, he went in and out of jail. He missed so many birthdays and holidays and Christmases, and and so many times he was supposed to come, or I don't know, just, and I just thought, for every time I forgave him. Even my mom still yet, like, we don't talk that much, but every time, she's in rehab right now, and every time she gets clean, I give her a chance, and that's all I want is for her to do good. Like, my brother is still in active addiction, and all I want is for him to do good. Like, that's all we want. And the more work you put in, like, your family will see that your daughter and your grandkids, even, like, they will be proud for to have you in their life. Like, so how did that go, seeing them for the first time that it was you were Memo?
I bawled my eyes out. Like, I was just like so shocked, Um, because like I said, she's very guarded. Like, she's a really great kid. She's not one of us. Her dad's not one of us. So I know it's been really hard for her to understand, like, the trauma and everything, then that it being a disease, and I had to just kind of like let her take it at her own pace and not push it. And then just out of nowhere, she was like, "That's your grandma."
It's so
Yeah.
hard to let to not be in control, especially like as addicts, the way that our mind is wired. Like, we like to be in control, and we don't like the unknown, and like, so it's really scary. I can't, but I'm so glad that it's paying off for you. Like, that's amazing. So do you get to spend time with them, like,
I haven't seen them
physically?
physically yet. Yeah, yeah. She lives up in Erlanger.
Um,
And okay, but right now, like, but I can, like, we talk most days. We text, and I get to FaceTime her. She lets the boys take off with the phone, and uh, and yeah, she sends me 1,000,001 pictures a day, and
That's incredible right there. Like, she lets the boys take off with the phone. Like you said, she's a very guarded, parent and mother. Like, for her to trust you, like, not only is she letting you talk to them, but she's trusting you that even
yeah,
though she's not standing right there, with the things you might say, the things they might hear. Because I don't know about you, but when I was in my addiction, a little kid running around on FaceTime, it's untelling what they might see in the environment that I
yeah.
was around at the time. So for her to know that, that has to feel really good.
Yeah, yeah, and she's actually, like, here recently. She's like, in the very beginning when I first started talking to her, and it's because of instances like me telling her I'm gonna kill myself because you make me feel like a piece of shit. So she's starting to not treat me like I'm so fragile. And get a little bit more deeper into her real feelings and real questions that she has, which makes me feel good that she's coming to that place. She's starting to heal. Um, However, that being said, she's thrown some real hard questions at me. Things that, like, she's told me of a time she was over at my house. I was using heroin and stuff then. And there was a picture of somebody on my fridge, and I, like, bit her head off and told her it was none of her fucking business who it was. And that broke me, like, and then she asked me all these questions, and I'm like, she's like, "Do you even remember that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have any memory of that. And it's hard to reconcile who I am sober you know, with who I was and the things that I was capable of saying and doing to my children and in front of my children, you know?
Absolutely, because it's hard to be sorry for something that you don't remember, and it's sad because to her it was such a traumatic. Obviously, like she's this is 20 years later, and she has remembered that, so it's obviously very traumatic to her, and you don't even remember it, so it's hard to be sorry. I mean, like, I know that we're sorry that we did things, but like, how sorry can you really be when you don't remember? And that sucks. It sucks. It sucks the way that addiction works, and the way that, like, I'm the same way. I was just talking to my husband the other day about how I don't remember a lot of stuff. Like, and even the stuff that I do remember about my life, like, I have to sit down and like think about it. Like, I have to really remember, like, because I did so much just ripping and running and doing drugs and getting high all the time, and I did so much that it's hard for me to remember certain instances without
Yeah.
something, sparking my memory or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out my whole timeline. Like, I don't
yeah.
feel like that's ever going to happen.
I said the other day, I said, I think I want to try to write out like some kind of rough timeline. I'm going to try to tell my story again on another episode here coming up soon. I think like 2 weeks ago, my guest had some difficulties and couldn't get into the studio. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to do a short episode and like tell my story. And I had not told it in a long time, and I like start crying. I end up quitting like in the middle of it, but I'm going to tell it again. I'm going to try to map it out a little better because, because it's I get talking and I'm like, oh no, 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 wait, this happened, and I just I don't know. I like to stay on
Yeah.
track, but
I just get nervous. Like I said, like I've given my lead because I'm not a very social person, right? Like I was, especially in my madness. Um, I was so isolated and so like angry but lonely at the same time. Like I would be out running on meth and I would go to a bar that I would always hang out at. I would go out to the backyard, where I knew there were people around, put my headphones in, turn my music on, and like flip out and bite somebody's head off for trying to say hi to me. Like, I don't, like who
yeah,
does that?
right. It,
Like people go to a bar to socialize, and I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want you to talk to me. I just needed to know that I'm not alone right now.
yeah, and it's crazy too because how many people were you surrounded by and still feel alone? Like, it doesn't. We trick ourselves not alone, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We're feel I do anyway, or I did, in my addiction, especially at the end, like once I realized that like something has to be different. And I struggled a lot because I had no real support. My family, or as like I said, is all addicts and stuff like that. So like once I even realized that I wanted to change, I had no idea how or where to start. And it's always really scary. Like, even you go to treatment and then you get out, what you have to like continue on an aftercare and all that. But when you're using, you don't ever think all the like, you don't think that's possible for you. I didn't. Like, I was like, no way am I ever gonna, it's not gonna be a thing. Like, the resources, I don't get that lucky type thing. Like, you always try to convince yourself that it won't, it's not gonna work for you for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I struggled with that a lot. I'm very grateful, like I served out in January, and I'm very grateful that I made the decision to stay cuz like I said, I'm from up by Newport, Cincinnati area.
Mhm.
Um and I just knew, like, and I still like I graduated, let's see, March, April, May, June, the end of May, and started peer mentoring June 2nd, and I'm really close to the girls that I peer mentor with. I've been there for over a year. I know the staff really well. I've got an amazing home group and an amazing sponsor, and friends outside of recovery, and I still struggle with that feeling lonely,
Yeah.
like unwanted and yeah.
Uncomfortable with yourself. That's I still, I've been clean for quite some time. I started my recovery journey probably around 2012. I went to a star program, and I um that was probably the first time when I was really like maybe something, can change, like type kind of just start feeling it a little bit. I came out of Star program. I start using again right away. Shortly after that, though, I got pregnant and I moved to down where I live now, deep in Kentucky, and just kind of got clean for a while. I ended up going back to jail. I had warrants though, even though like I wasn't using. I still like because I was a runner. I was like always in trouble. So I ended up like having my daughter in prison, and oh god, I don't even know where I was going with this, but I lost my train of thought. But but yeah, it's you never feel. Oh, I still yet, still yet, I still feel alone all the time. Like I've been in recovery for a while. That's what I was saying, and I still it doesn't get any better. Like that's why I started the podcast is because I my husband's not an addict. He's not one of us. He has never been in trouble a day in his life. So I really don't talk to him a lot. I don't talk a lot about my past and my recovery and stuff. So I kind of like for all intents and purposes, my life before my life now was just kind of non-existent, but it was like depressing me because I was like, now I feel like like I'm nobody or like I'm worthless or like my childhood and experiences are not valid, and that's not fair because that's why I kind of came up with the show because I was like, for people that are just completely have nowhere else or no one else, I want them to have somebody or somewhere, and for myself too because it's not healthy. It's healthy to I could feel myself getting depression, like even though I wasn't using, I was so just depressed all the time. Like, and I have three beautiful kids, and we had like own our home. Like, I have nothing to be depressed like that about, And I just was slipping into a really bad depression. So we have to be careful, no matter how long I think that we've been clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me too because like I'm not like I'm around people most of the time, So and I think I have those moments too where I forget that like my character defects and like the isolation and the depression and things like that, like they don't just go away just because I work the steps.
Right. And
Like,
we think that, we want, I think, all of our problems to go away when we stop using because we're not using. So we think like we should be like that or whatever, everything should be hungry. And, in reality, that's when all the work stops or starts, when it's hard. It's when you quit using, like everything doesn't just magically get better like we want it to. Like I'm bad for that. Like I think everything should just because I'm not using like that my life should just be like, rainbows and gumdrops all the time as like a reward. And it's just, I still have real life struggles and, everybody does. And it's difficult. It's difficult to accept that, I guess. Like
yeah. Yeah, delusional, I'm definitely delusional
yeah,
most
for
days.
sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, delusional and spoiled. Like I'm guilty of like you said, like people felt sorry for you, and like you use that sympathy. I was the same way, like played off of their pity, and so I'm like spoiled. So even like I just still want what I want. Like I said, like I'm clean, so I think my life should just be like I should get everything I want, and I should like not have to work too hard, and like everybody should forgive me for sure. Like like nobody should still be mad at me. Doesn't matter what I did to them. Like they should forgive me, and I feel that, and that's just us as instant gratification work like that. Like that's something we talked about last week before on my show. Is just that like people are ready when they're ready, and it sucks to have to accept. But I think that's
Yeah.
super cool. I was gonna ask about when you were telling your story, like how she just called up there the day of your like graduation, like that you were just petitioning to, and just so happened to be that day, like, and she didn't know, like, it's crazy how God is good, like he does, and you needed that, I'm sure, more than ever on that, like, you're so nervous about asking, can you graduate and have you done all the things that they want you to do and whatever. And then for her, did she come to your
She came to my 1 year celebration at my home group. It was the first time she showed up here. Her and her grandmother, her dad's mom,
uh-huh.
that took me in. They showed up here a couple of hours before. We got to hang out for a little bit. She actually she brought me the T-shirt that I'm wearing. It's her first T-shirt that she got when she was pregnant. It says "Size," uh, which I thought was just like, And we talked about her hearing my lead and stuff. She came to my home group. She got to hear my story. Um, and then she's been here one other time. She came and spent the weekend with me a couple weeks ago, just me and her. And we just kind of hung out. So,
That's good. That's great. So, I know we talked a little bit about how like your parent, your mother didn't like provide the best example, and then you hated that, but you kind of followed in her
yeah.
footsteps. I'm sorry. Do you have any advice for anybody that might see this, just to kind of anybody that's in addiction that's kind of did the same thing, and maybe not just advice, words of encouragement, anything that you wanted to say to anybody that's experiencing the same thing or has experienced the same thing? I know because I kind of did something similar, and so people can probably relate.
Well, I think like the biggest thing for me working through all of that was I had to really like acknowledge it for what it was. I would look back on these things and I had, it took someone else pointing it out to me. Like I was still trying to make all of the ugly stuff, right, that I knew was ugly because I had lived it with my parents, not ugly, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I would maybe admit something in that area, but I didn't want to really look at what it was. I had to acknowledge it for what it was, um, find my part in it, because I think until I was able to do that, I wasn't able to hear what it was trying to tell me, and I couldn't heal from it and let it go. And then just really working on forgiving myself, listening, taking advantage of the resources that we do have, especially with other women in recovery, and listening to their stories and reaching out. There was there were quite a couple of women that were able to say, like, you're not the only one, and then not feeling so alone. I was able to, like, okay, um and I just started working on building my self-esteem, and like, doing esteemable acts, helping others, doing things that I know I could be proud of, that my daughter could be proud of, um was really the biggest thing. But I had to figure out, like, I had to figure out where it was coming from, like, because like they say, like they've taught us at the Hope Center, like they say, get down to root causes and conditions, right? Because like I can say I'm sorry all day long, but until I understand what drove me to those behaviors to begin with, I'll never be able to correct it. It's bound to happen again.
Right.
So just really putting in the work, reaching out to other women in recovery, your sponsor, um, and self forgiveness is what it took. Um, I'm not trapped by it anymore, and I'm able to move on.
So, one of my favorite questions that I like to ask my guests is if you could go back and sit beside your younger self in your darkest time, what would you get? What would you tell yourself to get through? Like, if you could give yourself one piece of advice to carry you through in your darkest hour.
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question.
It's my
um,
favorite. I think because it's so hard, though.
yeah. I don't really know. Like,
It's okay. We can skip
I'm
it.
just, yeah, give me a minute to think about
Okay.
it.
We'll skip it and we can come back if you think of something. So what would you say would be the happiest moment of all of this? Of now that you're in recovery and you're starting to get your life back together, what has been your most happiest or your most rewarding moment or achievement,
my
accomplishment?
my most rewarding moment, I think, was, so after you petition, you go on what's called 7 and 7s, where you spend 7 days with SOS, which is the girls that are just coming into the program, and then 7 days with the MTs, which is the very beginning, right outside of SOS, where they're really fragile and having to
Mhm.
like learn how to navigate all this stuff. And being put on the spot to give my lead for the first time, Um, being able to stand in my truth,
Yeah.
being able to stand up there, tears, and just tell all the ugly, because I feel like my sponsor really reiterated, because I was just going to go completely vague and, like, be real general about stuff, and my sponsor said, no, you need to tell all of it, because
Yeah.
that's how people really that's how people really learn to identify, and that's where we can see, like, okay, well, I thought that way, those things happened to me, or I did that, and if it I see it working for them, so that's where we start to get that hope that it'll work for us too.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I know I said it, I don't know if I said it to you before we were recording or after, but like that's what this is all about, is like let's just own our messiness. Like we did it, and let's own it. We can never move on from it. We can never grow from it if we don't accept it and own it. Like, we all did stuff we're not proud of, and I hate judging. Like, let's not judge people. Like, some people might have done things that other people didn't, and that's fine. That's fine. Everybody's rock bottom differently, but we all did our shit. Like, we all did dirt bad. We've all done stuff that is bad in its own way. And I hate when people judge, and I'm all about, I hate when people feel like they can't own their truth, like they can't express their true messiness because of like fear of judgment, because it's just not fair. We have enough crap, we have enough demons in our head without other, and but I will say the recovery community, like as a whole, overall, is like incredibly supportive. Like a few weeks ago, I had put on Facebook that I needed so many members for my Facebook group to be able to stream to it or whatever. And like literally, I had 36 Facebook group members or whatever. And within an hour, it jumped to like almost 200 people, just because people kept
Yeah.
forwarding it, and people were like, I mean, it was just like incredibly, that was probably one of my more recent like moments that I was just really proud of. I guess just like
Yeah.
people, I don't know, humanity as a whole. But so what would you think then would has been your toughest moment in your recovery? We'll say, we won't go addiction, like you're just in, as far as like recovery and like working your steps and wherever the progress that you've made so far and things that you've done, what has been probably your hardest thing to overcome?
Um, Definitely, finding my part in things, and working through the forgiveness. And I think doing that definitely, like, I had a lot of anger, because of I hated myself. So how could I
Oh yeah.
not hate everybody else?
Right.
And really, like, I had to let go of that anger and that hate. That's what was blocking me from a higher power. So definitely, the anger, and being able to see myself and be okay with it.
Right. um do you have a favorite recovery quote or saying, piece from the big book, anything that sticks out to you?
Um, there's all kinds of them. Like, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I find some person, place, or thing disturbing, it is because I need to look at me. Pause when agitated, selfish and self-centered, that we think is the root of all of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear. Like, hold on, pain ends. Um,
Yep. There's so many good ones. There are really many good ones.
I
Um,
will tell you this. One of my favorite one from my sponsor. She doesn't call my sponsee sisters. We are called sponsee pigeons. She says, because we turn the mess into a message.
oh,
We have
I
a
love
message.
that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
she's pretty.
This is someone somebody said to me just recently, but it was doesn't matter how many days clean you have, it matters what you do with those days, or I think something like that. Like, I really like that. Like, it doesn't matter, like, because I was clean for a while, and like I said, I'm guilty about, like, I don't I wasn't like stress in my recovery. I didn't really do meetings as much as I should. Like I said, I just kind of didn't do drugs, like I just kind of didn't do it anymore. And it, I don't know. So that stuck out to me because I like came to the point to where I felt like that, like I was like, I'm clean, but for what? Like, like for why? So, I think it's important to do something, at least pay it forward, even if you just mentor or talk with somebody or whatever. I really think it's important. Like community and support are like detrimental to recovery, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's something else that like I would not have made it if it had not been for the women around me that supported me, and that saw me when I didn't want to be seen, and my sponsor who works a full-time job and has two small children, and you know um, takes time out every week, like no matter what it is, like taking that time, and that's what she's really been pressing into me is the service work. Why don't you have a sponsor yet, and helping somebody else. Yeah.
I just had another question and I just completely lost it, I think. Oh, I know. You said your children, I know that they got taken by CPS when they were younger, but how old were they when they got taken? Did you parent in addiction for
um well, I did with Kaylee, my oldest. My younger four, um I was smoking weed here and there, and I would drink occasionally, but I really wasn't messing around with anything. But like I said, for me it wasn't, I still had all the behaviors.
mm-hmm.
Right. I had the anger. I had dangerous people around. I was aggressive with my children. It was about all the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Cody, my oldest, was 5, 4, 3, and 2.
So
Yeah.
your son is actually older than your daughter?
No, no.
Oh, okay, okay.
She was 4 when I had him, but
Oh,
she
okay, okay.
went to live
I
with
knew
her dad.
I had 4 years old wrote down some okay,
Yeah,
so he was
she
4
was
when you had
9. She was 9. And he was 5, 4, 3, and 2. I have
okay.
3 boys and 2 girls.
So you just, the reason
Sorry,
that I
it's
was just asking
confusing.
is because I was going to talk about like some of the like struggles parenting and addiction. Like I know I did for a while. I relapsed after I had my daughter for a little bit, and it just it was extremely difficult trying to hide. I think we're sneaky. We think we hide things from our kids, and then they'll like pop off and say stuff or do something. Like they got the toy syringe over there, like and it just I don't know. I was gonna see if you experienced any struggles. I didn't know how long you had your children before
Uh,
you.
Now, when my oldest, like I said, she was in and out. When I would get to see her for a while here and there, I was using, like I would lock myself in the bathroom for hours. I mean, she was older at that point, you know what I mean? And I didn't think she knew what was going on, but she did.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like they weren't really around for that part.
Well, that's okay. So now as you are starting your journey as your this nana and this mom to your daughter, what would you say is like your most important thing you have to keep in mind? I'm just gonna give you an example because I don't know if I'm like saying this right, but like to me, I feel like the most important thing is like how we talked earlier about like letting it go at like their pace. That would be like what I would feel. Like, what would you say would be like the most important thing to keep in mind, like going forward?
Consistency.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
one.
I think it's really important. That's been like my biggest thing that I've strived for,
Mhm.
is being consistent, and allowing her to see that I'm doing the things instead of just being like, oh yeah, like she can see it in me when I tell her I'm gonna call. Like I text her every morning, good morning, as soon as I wake up, and just being consistent has been. I
Right.
think it's made a really big deal.
Right, sure. Being like dependable and just building that trust, I think that would be detrimental. Like just like I said, because I know, like in the back of her mind, that she's got to be terrified all the time that she's going to lose you again. And that's because we're so finicky as that. Even me, even with years in sobriety, it's so hard to, we can't promise, I can't promise that I'll be clean tomorrow or by the end of next week. We never know. But the more, the harder that they see you trying, I really feel like it's going to proceed to get better for you.
Yeah, she even had like some stuff that she brought me when she came to visit me, and I just got an apartment through the Hope Center, and she was trying to bring me some things for it. She said, she was like, Mom, she said, don't take this the wrong way. She had a knife set that she wanted to bring me because she knows I need those kind of things, but she didn't bring it because she was scared I was gonna flip out and use it to hurt myself because she knows I'm a cutter,
Oh,
Yeah. So
well, but that comes with, a lot of times addiction comes with co-occurring mental health disorders with I know you said you experienced trauma, and you'll learn to like maintain that better, and she'll get more comfortable, and that's hard too, because again, that's just another thing where like, she's gonna have to learn on her own. Like there's nothing we can do, and I'm so bad for that. Like I'm so bad for like, just I want, like I said, right now, like people should forgive me right now, they should believe me right now, they should trust me right now. But like in reality, that's one of my biggest struggles, is like knowing that I have to step back and let things happen at other people's, like, I still yet have bridges that I've not repaired, and I've been in recovery for years and years. So that's hard. That's a hard pill for me to swallow. I'm like, but please, like, no.
yeah, sitting on my hands and just letting it happen as it's supposed to, because I definitely have a lot of fixed manage and control. I want to play God, and entitlement, and want to dictate things, and yeah, I'm learning now.
Okay. We got 5 minutes left. I'm gonna play. I have a little video that I usually play at the beginning, and I forgot. It's got your picture on it, and our little segment title is called "Rock Bottom to Bedtime Stories." I forgot to say that. I also forgot to say, I try to mention every episode, that I'm not a substance abuse professional. I am going to get my peer support certificate, but I'm not certified yet. Nothing that anybody said today should be taken as direct advice at all. This is just a conversation between two people, and I think that's it. So I'm going to play a little video and we'll end our stream.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for joining me. I've got to find the video, so we have just a second, but thank you for joining me, and thank you. I know that this was very last minute for you, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that we got it together so quickly. I'm sorry that we weren't a little bit more organized, and I think that we did it. I think we had me neither. It wouldn't matter if I have a script in front of me. I still would be off track and a million miles away. But yeah, thank you for getting it together so quickly, and I appreciate you being so, like, I really think like your story spoke to me, and I'm excited for people to hear this episode, because you were very like, just put it all out there, and that's what I'm hoping everybody does. So I really appreciate that.
I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my been ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem been better. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me, might smoke bed in heaven. Got a whole agenda.